Hey, this is Jennifer and Megan. We are two sisters from South Carolina on a mission to discover more about our British grandmother's life in London by reading, researching, and sharing her love letters she wrote to her American soldier sweetheart during World War II. Our grandmother Lucy was born and raised in London, England, and our grandfather Jimmy was born and raised in South Carolina. He was in the U.S. Army and was stationed near Salisbury when they first met. At some point, he visited London and he and Lucy met somewhere in Covent Garden. At the time of the first letter that we have, Lucy and Jimmy had met, fallen in love, gotten engaged, and were planning on getting married in London and then moving to South Carolina once the war was over. But before they were able to get married, Jimmy was shipped off to France. They thought he would be coming back to London sometime soon after leaving, but as we now know, that didn't happen. And from the moment they departed at the train station, it will be 2 years before they are reunited. And so this 2-year period that they were apart is what gave us these letters we are reading today. It's such a beautiful love story that we just have to share it. Also, it's taken a life of its own as we've made so many awesome discoveries along the way, and it has become an ongoing research project. So, if you're looking for an interesting, unique perspective on life, love, and London during World War II, then you've found the right place. We will take you through each letter and bring them to life as we have recently traveled to some of the exact places mentioned in these letters. Think of this as a historical love story come to life. So, grab your favorite beverage and blanket and prepare to dive in with us. This is the All My Love, Lucy podcast.
The light we cannot see.
It's really good. Hey, and welcome back to the All My Love Lucy podcast. We're so glad you're here with us for episode number 23.
Thank you all so much for following along on this journey. Thank you for all the love and support from everyone. We really appreciate it.
We sure do. And if you're a first-time listener, we always want to recommend that you go back and start with episode number 1. We've covered a lot of information. This is more like a series podcast. We do the episodes in chronological order based on the dates of the letters. So we do encourage you to go back to the beginning. And don't forget, we always have an uninterrupted reading of the letter at the end of the episode. So be sure and stay tuned for that. So let's get started with letter number 23.
August 22nd, 1944. My darling Jimmy, I received your lovely letter today, and I am so happy because I have heard from my sweetheart again. It has been dull and rainy all day, but I have hardly noticed it.
So I don't really have to look up the weather. She's telling us what the weather is here. It's dull and rainy there. And she says she's hardly noticed it because she received a letter. I think that's so sweet how she talks about that when he sends her letters and she says things like this about how she doesn't notice things that are going on when she gets those letters because she's so, I guess, focused on that. But so I mentioned last time about going over some information about some communications innovations that the Signal Corp was directly involved in creating. And I'm going to read directly from our book, or not our book, but the book that we go by for Jimmy's information. And that is Key to Command by Michael Godbout. It is an award-winning book. If you're a first-time listener, this is an award-winning book about the 50th Signal Battalion that Jimmy was a part of, and it's an excellent book. We are trying to always remember to leave a link in the description, so if you're interested in purchasing this, it's well worth it, and you can follow along too with what Jimmy's doing. Okay, so I'm starting on page 215, and I'm going to start here where it says, the battalion was learning rapidly how to cope with mobile warfare. During June and July, in the restricted area of the Cotentin Peninsula, and I'm probably not pronouncing that right, they had very little trouble keeping all their communications working. Units were so close together that wire could be maintained easily, and telephones were the principal means of communicating. After the breakout from the bocage, remember we talked about the breakout a few weeks ago,
and the fast-moving armored exploitation, it was a whole new challenge. Although the battalion made extensive use of radio and it was always available, commanders liked to be able to pick up the telephone and talk with their troops. They did not like to write messages, especially those that could not be sent in the clear. Fortunately, Signal Corps technicians and Bell Laboratories had been hard at work on a solution. They developed radio relay equipment. This was the marriage of wire and radio and proved to be one of the war's most significant innovations in communications, combining the best features of both systems. It became known as Amtrak in Europe, and the battalion had received its new equipment, which the men of the 50th quickly put to use following the tanks. So Jimmy specifically was not involved in this. This had been being developed for not a long period of time, but for a while now. But the Signal Corps technicians were involved. So I thought that was really neat because it was part of what Jimmy was a part of were involved in this. So, but it says that this equipment is the precursor to the modern microwave, was a lifesaver. The multi-channel equipment provided several speech and teletype circuits and connected directly into the telephone and teletype switchboards at either end. It could be installed much faster than conventional wire lines and with fewer personnel. It provided a two-way VHF radio telephone channel which could be expanded with carrier and was relatively secure because of its directional characteristics and temporary use. As soon as Spiral 4 cable laying crews caught up, the radio link crew would take down their directional antennas, load up their power generator, and take off after the tanks again. So it helped with the mobile communications there. So again, Jimmy himself was probably not part of that, creating that, but the Signal Corps was. So I wanted to bring that up because I thought that was really interesting. And these innovations played a crucial role in maintaining communication during wartime.
Well, dearest one, I hardly know what to write about because I told you all the news in my letter on Saturday. I went to tea with Muriel on Sunday and listened to the music on the radio, which I enjoyed. But of course, it would have been sweeter if you could have been with me.
I wish I knew what she was listening to.
I know.
Like, what was her favorite music?
Yeah.
And all that. And I've listened to some 1940s music. And I kind of know because, she taught me piano. And she had a lot of favorites that she taught me. And I kind of know some of her favorite songs. But as far as what she was listening to during this time period, I would really love to know it.
I would too.
And I know she was listening to music on the radio here. She was probably listening to the talking and everything too, but I wanted to share something I came across about the radio during this time. I thought this is really interesting. During World War II, the BBC played a crucial role in communicating with the French resistance. Every night until the liberation of France between 1944 and 1945, the BBC broadcast coded messages to the French people. And it's kind of like that steganography we talked about with the knitting.
Mm-hmm.
You remember that? Where they would hide coded messages in normal everyday things. And so this made me think about, have you seen that TV series or the Netflix series, All the Light We Cannot See?
No, I haven't.
It's got Hugh Laurie, plays House.
Oh, okay, yeah.
You know him. Mark Ruffalo's in it. I don't really know the girl. I'm not familiar with her, but it's a series based on a historical fiction novel. So it's not a true story, but it is based on, and the backdrop is real events during this time period. But it's really, I enjoyed it. There's been some critics that don't like the way some of the Nazis are portrayed in it, but overall, it's well done. I enjoyed it. I watched it. So if you haven't watched it, I encourage you to watch it. But it has that in here because this is about a blind French girl, and she broadcasts coded messages on the radio to the Allies from her attic in St. Malo during the war. And so I thoroughly enjoyed it. So there's also another film starring John Wayne, which is older, of course, in 1962. and it's called The Longest Day. And it's actually a 1962 film based on a nonfiction book. So this is the true story, in which a BBC announcer's messages, such as something as nonsensical as molasses tomorrow will bring forth cognac, and that would prompt French resistance members to act and carry out missions, such as blowing up telephone poles that would disrupt German operations before the Allies would get there. And so the impact of these broadcasts and these secret messages in radio, this was very significant. It helped coordinate resistance efforts across occupied Europe. Very, very important. And so I thought I would talk about that. She mentions radio here. And so I don't know if she heard things like that. I'm sure she did. If she listened to BBC, she would have heard some of these things.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so we're going to take a short break. As we mentioned in the last couple of episodes, we are starting to do a little bit of advertising. We're not bombarding you with a bunch of advertisements, but we're going to take a short break and we'll be right back.
Today we are recommending The Nightingale, a novel by Kristen Hanna. It is a #1 New York Times bestseller, Wall Street Journal Best Book of the Year, and soon to be major motion picture starring sisters Elle and Dakota Fanning. It is described as an unforgettable novel of love and strength in the face of war, which goes right along with the themes in Lucy and Jimmy's story. The book has received much praise from authors such as Christina Baker Klein, stating it is haunting, action-packed, and compelling. Our great Aunt Julia, Jimmy's youngest sister, first recommended it to us, and we are passing it along to you. If you're interested in purchasing this book, the Amazon affiliate link can be found in the description of this episode. We will receive a small commission from qualifying purchases, but rest assured we would never recommend anything we aren't willing to purchase ourselves. All commissions will go towards our podcast operating expenses, so thank you in advance for your purchase. Enjoy!
She goes on to say, I am glad you like the clippings, and when I see any more worth sending, I will enclose them.
Just a little bit about the clippings. There are multiple clippings that we found throughout the boxes, but most of them, where she's clipped them out of papers and all that, she's clipped the dates off of them. So we can't really put them in order because I don't really know what time frame each one of them is from. But I am going to go back, and maybe next time I can try to pull some out that are evident that they go along with this time period. Maybe try to find some of those. There's some magazines in there too. I don't know when those were sent or if she just held on to them and brought them over with her. But there's some really interesting things in there. And the ones that she did clip, where there are a lot of romantic messages that were in the newspaper and that sort of thing. So we'll have to pull some of those out at some point.
Yeah, I'd really like to see all that.
Yeah.
For sure. I am so proud of you and all you are doing. And don't forget, darling, you have got someone worth fighting for and to come back to. Well, darling, my big worry at this moment is that I cannot pop into the envelope along with the clippings and give you a lovely kiss when you let me out. So I shall just have to put them on paper until we have some real ones, which I hope and do not think will be very long.
I thought that was so funny.
That is so sweet.
She wants to hop in there and pop out. So again, here we can tell that she still believes that they're going to be reunited soon. And it's just August of 1944. She's got a long time. They've got a long time before they're together again.
Keep smiling and take great care of yourself, my darling sweetheart. With all my love, from your Lucy.
So we continue on this journey with Lucy and Jimmy, and next time Lucy talks about fire watching again, and so we're going to dig a little deeper into that. I know we've done kind of a deep dive before on that, but we're going to talk even more about that. It's such an interesting topic to us, and to know she was a part of that, and we had some information that we got when we went to London, and it kind of just hit home with us, and so we are very interested in the fire watching. So we'll talk more about that next time. Also, I thought we should all try to watch the series All the Light We Cannot See on Netflix if you have time. I know that I can't remember how many episodes it is. You may not have enough time to watch all of it. Or, depending on how much time you have, you could do both. The Longest Day movie, starring John Wayne, on Amazon Prime. I think you have to rent it for like $3 and some change. But I thought we could all do that before next time, and then we can talk about it a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So at least watch some of the All the Light We Cannot See series.
Yeah.
It's really good. I enjoyed it. I thought it was just really well done, and it's very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Even though it's fictional, the backdrop is real events, and so kind of gives you a little bit more insight to what was going on during this time. So I encourage you to watch it. And I've not seen The Longest Day, so I'll definitely watch that one and see how that is. Our mom's dad loved John Wayne.
Yes, I remember that.
He probably saw this movie. He saw everything. He had everything. So don't miss any of our upcoming episodes. We've got a lot of great information coming your way, and we really hope that you'll continue on this journey with us.
Yeah, definitely. So make sure to subscribe to our channels, give us a like, drop a comment, follow us. You can even email us at allmylovelucy@gmail.com. We would love to hear from you.
Absolutely. Join in on the conversation. You may know more about what we're talking about. We'd love to hear from you. So thank y'all so much for joining us today. And as promised, we will end with an uninterrupted reading of this letter. So until next time, enjoy. Letter number 23. August 22nd, 1944. My darling Jimmy, I received your lovely letter today, and I am so happy because I have heard from my sweetheart again. It has been dull and rainy all day, but I have hardly noticed it. Well, dearest one, I hardly know what to write about because I told you all the news in my letter on Saturday. I went to tea with Muriel on Sunday and listened to the music on the radio, which I enjoyed, but of course it would have been sweeter if you could have been with me. I am glad you like the clippings, and when I see any more worth sending, I will enclose them. I am proud of you and all you are doing, and don't forget, darling, you have someone worth fighting for and to come back to. Well, darling, my big worry at this moment is that I cannot pop into the envelope along with the clippings and give you a lovely kiss when you let me out. So I shall just have to put them on paper until we can have some real ones, which I hope and do not think will be very long. Keep smiling and take great care of yourself, my darling sweetheart. With all my love, from your Lucy.
If you are hearing this message, you've listened to the entire episode, and for that, we want to thank you from the bottom of our hearts. We truly hope you enjoyed this episode, and we hope you'll return for the next episode of the All My Love Lucy podcast.